military industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Fear itself. Fear itself. Fear itself. Where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall never surrender.
My Prepper brothers and sisters, you've arrived at the bunker. Grab a cup of joe, a stout tea, or maybe your favorite adult beverage. This is the Prepper's place for open discussion on whatever the hell we want. Brought to you whatever the hell way we want. This is the new format of Top's Bunker. So sit down, kick back, post up, relax, and welcome to the bunker.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Military industrial complex.
And we as a people will get to the promised land.
We will make America strong again, proud again, safe again. We will make America great again.
Preppers, survivalists, off-gridders, homesteaders, and the like. Welcome to Top's Bunker, a podcast for preppers. Our email is shtf@topsbunker.com. Our website is topsbunker.com. Don't forget to check the show notes on your podcast player for valuable links and extra info on this episode. I want to thank you all for joining us. We've got a great show for you. Tonight, we're continuing our discussion on one of the most important moves you'll ever make as a prepper survivalist, strategic relocation. You got to know by now that cities are soft targets and the suburbs, they're even more fragile. And when the grid goes dark and the system breaks, you'll want to be the most strategically positioned for success. So what do you look for in land that can double as a homestead and a bug-out location? What makes a property an asset and not a liability when the world goes sideways? In this series, we're breaking down things like terrain, resources, access, concealment, legal traps, and the mindset it takes to relocate with purpose. Strategic relocation is about seeing what's coming and making your move before everyone else realizes that they're already too late. We all know that the clock is ticking and your final stronghold isn't going to find itself. So let's get to it.
I get roped into going on the weekend, which it tests all my patience. So I don't do good with big crowds and people walking around with their head up their ass. I run over people with carts and, oh, I'm so sorry.
Is that where you do your regular shopping though?
I buy bulk stuff there. I try to stay away from every other place, man. I find myself, believe it or not, you guys have Brahms up there?
Brahms, of course. Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So they have a fresh market and it's, real small, tiny, but I get a few things from there. A local market, which is very expensive. And then Costco. So yeah, I'm simple, man.
I take it back. Where I'm at now, we don't have Brahms, and of course in Texas they're everywhere.
Yeah. And
I like that little shop they've got there. It's got some fresh stuff.
Yeah. I try to buy Costco bigger ticket items, the bulk items and stuff. So I hit it once, maybe twice a month.
The Costco for us is like it's in Springfield, so it's a trip. It's an hour and a half, an hour and 45, whatever it is. It's a trip.
Yeah.
So when we go, it's usually big. Last time we went, we spent like $400. We had like 2 carts loaded all the way to the top. That's how when we got to the register, we had 2 fully loaded carts. But that was the last time we went in the past year.
I was going to say, you guys usually probably have to like get all your stuff at once, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Because the trip itself is a 3-hour drive. I'm not going to do that every weekend. That's like a once a year type of thing.
I mean, I'll go twice I don't always buy a lot, but once a month I stock up, usually the first of the month, with all the big ticket stuff. And then I remember living in Brooklyn and going to Costco there, and they had what they call BJ's. It's like a Sam's, it's a subscription type thing. You hit it once a month, buy just crazy amounts of stuff, and then stock up, and then your daily stuff. In New York, the normal thing to do is hit the bodega or hit the little neighborhood shop on the way home and grab what you're going to cook for the dinner. So I've done my shopping this month already, and it's not even June, so I can lock myself back in the house.
I like it. Gentlemen, what are we going to be talking about today? I use that phrase very loosely.
I'm going to say you already started out insulting us.
I don't have Rhonda here this week to insult, so I've got all my insults backed up. I have no chops to bust over here. She's in Texas. I bust her chops all day.
I believe we're continuing our series on land and bug out locations.
That's correct. We are. Well, let me ask you this. What did we talk about on the first run around?
So the first time we had Kevin on, and it was a perspective from a realtor or someone who actually deals in finding land and building homes, which,
right,
that's a pretty big thing. Because a lot of people, I think, believe that, if something were to happen, they can pick up their stuff and just go find somewhere and park their butt. And that's not reality, because there's no more land being made. All of the Earth's surface has already been made. But land that you can legally, go to in the time of an emergency, that's what you got to find. And that Kevin provided a lot of really good insight on some of those things. So, but one of the things that we want to talk about today is an actual bug out location, which can also be, your property, because a lot of people don't want to bug out. They will just stay where they're at, and that's their hill,
That would be the choice thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, bugging out, it sounds romantic and cool, but it's probably not. It really probably is not. So, in a dire emergency, okay, yes. If it's something that could pass and you have prepared and have a plan and do all those things, you'll be fine.
Man, if they make a movie about it, then you probably want to steer clear of it because there's high risk involved. So,
yeah.
But, I mean, like for me, I do have a bug out location, but it's something I'm not going to do for 72 hours at least. I'm going to have discipline to let the situation develop and find out what's happening, what's really going on. 72 hours and people, they can probably survive out of their refrigerator for 72 hours in their cupboards. Then it starts to get, the situation starts to change. So then that's when I make my assessment.
Yeah. And I think that really happened. It depends on what the actual situation is. A power outage of 72 hours or more is, you're pushing it. But if you have the proper systems in place, you'll be fine. Generators, solar generators, those kinds of things.
I think a power outage is probably the hardest one to deal with, if you ask me, because of the fact that you can't see it coming and you don't know how long it's going to last and you don't know what the cause is. For the most part, you don't know what the cause is. If you're in the middle of winter and it's a winter storm, you can pretty much, put two and two together and figure out that that's the reason why the power is out, and it might be out for a day or two whenever those guys get out there and they fix it. Same thing with storms. You're pretty much knowing it's going to be a temporary type of situation. Now, if it goes out and there's no reason, no obvious reason for it, that's where it gets really tricky, because your power outage, it could be, let's say it's EMP. Let's say something totally benign and one of the transformers blew up. You just don't know. If there's no storm and it's a beautiful sunny day and there's nothing going on in the world and all of a sudden the power goes out, you just don't know. So this is where I would have to play it by ear at that point. I think that's kind of, Buddy, what you were saying. I would love to know more about, area study or head on a swivel, figure out when exactly is the time to say bye-bye. Do you wait a day? Do you wait 2 days? Do you wait a week? I mean, I can wait out for a while, but how long do you wait it out when you don't know what's going on? That's the thing.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm going to have discipline and reassess after 72 hours. And hopefully I'm going to gain enough knowledge before to find out what's going on. So like if it happened right now, well, there's been rumblings of World War III. So if something happens, and of course you're going to look at the indicators. There'll be several indicators. If there's big mushroom clouds up in the air, well, probably nuclear. If things just go, if there's booms way up in the air, and you hear zzz, 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 it could be aliens or it could be, an EMP. There's indicators. If none of your electronics work, EMP, something like that. But just look for the indicators is all you need to do. But you got to know what the indicators are. So
as soon as the power, if it ever goes out here, that's the one thing I do is I look and it's like, okay, is it just the lights or did anything else go off? Check my watch, check my phone, check a computer or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. It's just the lights. And then start looking at the sky. Because it's like that video clip where the dude's putting his sweetener in the coffee and then all of a sudden there's a mushroom cloud and he switches to sugar.
Yeah, I'm grabbing the tequila or Everclear or whatever's close to throw in that coffee.
Took me half a second to figure that out. Look, if it's aliens, I'm siding with them. I'm not siding with us.
Hey, it's got to be better where they're from.
Exactly. Plus, they're going to beat us, so you might as well just, yes, Overlord, whatever you need, we're here for you.
Yeah, unless they probe you. That would be uncool.
If you're still alive and you're not getting burned up, sizzled up, I don't know.
I could say where you're going with that. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
It's a matter of survival.
No judgment in survival.
Move along, sir. Nothing to see here.
Yeah. One of the things that me and Buddy had actually discussed this a little bit about in the military or in the Army specifically, we have this thing that's called the principles of a patrol base. If you look at what a patrol base is in the Army, it is a location for whatever size of element that is deemed. If you're traveling in a platoon that's between 32 and 35 or 38 people, you need an area that is large enough to encompass all of the individuals within that element. One of the biggest things about a patrol base is you have to be able to secure it. You have to have security. So if you're thinking about a piece of bug out property or your own personal property, you have to be able to, when you're getting ready to purchase this thing, look around and be like, okay, I can fit everything that I want to do. I can fit my whole family and I can fit all of our stuff into this particular thing. And I can also secure it. So that's one of the main things is if you own land, and again, this has all been part of the process that I've been learning over the past, 2.5 years. You've got to be able to secure the acreage that you own, and you've got to be able to make sure that it's actually out there. It's secure. You don't have wanderers. You don't have drifters. You don't have, people that are not supposed to be there. One of the main principles is it has to be able to offer good cover and concealment. So if things get crazy in the world, you've got to be able to defend your property. And we've talked about this before in different episodes, but you have to teach your family on how to do that as well. If you're going to stay and that's your hill, and you need to be able to train to do so. So being able to find locations on your property to defend it is really, really important.
Yeah, you want to have it strategically placed where you can easily defend it. You have to be sustainable and not so much in the prepper sense, but yet as a platoon, which means you have to be able to fight and defend. So would it be good to put a patrol base in the base of a valley or on top of a hill? You got to look at that strategic placement. Consider all the security risk, which, you just have to factor in and deciding what's the best location. And you're not going to hit every, we're going to touch about a lot of things here, and you're not going to get an A+ in each of these areas. And if you do, that's awesome. You got to pick your battles with this thing, but I think you've talked about the most important parts, that strategic placement.
Yeah. And the second principle is actually it's terrain that is easily defendable over a short period of time. Some of the stuff that you see in movies with gunfights and all that, totally unrealistic. Gunfights last seconds. And the third one, of course, it's our favorite subject, which is it's near a good water source. So being able to tap into water through a well or have a stream or having some kind of water available on the land that is separate from the, your county or city water is a huge, huge bonus if you have that. Of course, it still has to be purified. It still has to be, you still have to gather it and purify it and do all those things. And if you can't, there's some alternatives. Gutters that lead into water collection barrels, which are used for, a multitude of different things. So having water available on the property, or, whether it be your home property or your bug out location, is very important. Keith, you're super big on water. Do you guys have water on your land, or how do you guys do that?
We did a checklist when we started looking for land and try to check off boxes. And you're right, you're not going to check off all the boxes. And even if you do check off all the boxes, they're not 100% on each box. Water access was definitely number one for us. And woods, security, seclusion. When it comes to water, we have a wet weather creek, which in the rain turns into sort of a waterfall, running, rushing type of thing. But where does it go? It goes down to the bottoms, which is this creek down there, which is on our property. A large section of it is. About 300 yards of it is on our property. So even if it gets to a dry point where you're not raining for, a month or so, you're still at the low point. You can dig for water. But we also have a well. So in realistic everyday living, what you want to look for a well. Even if you don't use it, like if you have a well and access to public, that's great. That's best of both worlds.
Yeah.
But a well is really what you want to look for getting your groundwater. Also, you want to check your state for the uses of water. Missouri is, I'm trying to think of that word. It's not a word I use every day. So it's riparian. That's the word. Missouri is a riparian water state, which means that you have access to the above ground and below ground water source, as long as you're not affecting other people's access to the water. So you can water catch. A lot of places you can't use water catchment.
Right.
Believe it or not, there are states that won't allow you to use water catchment systems. It's crazy. It's coming from the sky. It's coming from God himself, and we can't use it. No, because they're saying you're going to affect the water source underground by collecting it.
They have some of those rules here, and it all has to do about taxes and money. That's all they care about here.
It's always money, right?
It's always money. Yep.
A good area study before you go and look for land and stuff is a good means to find out, a lot of these things. In my opinion, water is the most important thing besides probably security.
Absolutely. Yes. And you should be looking at, if you're looking at a land that has actual buildings on it, those buildings, you should also consider those water catchment systems. So take a look at the roofs. What type of roofs are they? If you have to do any amendments to them or fix them or repair them or rebuild them, things to collect your water source, areas to collect your water. Do they have a well? Has your well been tested? So all these things matter.
Yeah. So I'm reading here, and it says North Carolina permits harvested rainwater for on-site non-potable water reuse applications, divided by whether the collected rainwater is treated or untreated. Additionally, water quality requirements may apply dependent on intended application. So it's not for resale, but it's for personal use.
But it's not for drinking, right? It says non-potable.
But now that's how they define rainwater, is it's non-potable.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So the next one is it's avoidance of unrestricted key terrain that the enemy or civilian populace would consider as having a tactical value or use to their operations. So that's the pure military definition. The civilian translation of that, or for the prepper, is kind of goes back to the gray man theory. You do not want to present an image to the outside that you have a bunch of stuff and that is your castle and that's where you keep your things. Like if you go near your driveway and there's a big archway that says Prepper's Paradise, somebody was probably going to see that and be like, oh, cool, I guess we're going to raid this one next. You don't want to put yourself out there to basically invite unwanted company. And that also goes along with your online presence when you're showing off, your property and things like that. And when you're taking pictures and doing videos and stuff like that, you have to be cognizant of what is in the background. I mean, we are out there, the three of us, but nobody would be able to say what we have or don't have individually. But since we're now a name and basically a public presence, there's a general understanding that we know and have things. But if you're sitting on your property and that's where you're going to defend yourself, don't put yourself out there any more than you absolutely have to. So that's kind of my thoughts on that one.
That's a good point. I had my Trump flag and my American flag up, which I always fly. And as soon as Trump got elected, I took the Trump flag down. I'd rather people not know that when they're passing my house, oh, there's a person who's got lots of guns, lots of ammo, all this other stuff. So I can put up my don't tread on me flags. If I want, I might do that, and not that I'm having a lot of drive by, because I have zero drive by, but postmen, delivery drivers, whatever, all these other people, I'd rather them not know, all that's going on behind the doors.
No need to broadcast that shit for sure.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with showing your patriotism and having your flag and all those things, but keep the vibe of what it is that you and your family are doing on that property kind of low key. That's what I gather from that one.
Absolutely. And I'll never take my American flag down. That's staying up.
No, absolutely not. Now, this is even for hunters. We have this thing called a natural line of drift. Like the terrain and the land sort of flows naturally in a direction. In a patrol base, when you're doing tactical operations, you kind of want to avoid those natural lines of drift because other people can sense and see those things, and they'll be coming along in that direction. What that means on your property is if you're going to choose a bug out location, and this is almost specific for bug out locations, if it flows with the land and you're trying to, avoid people and all of those things, maybe think about where that land sits amongst the terrain. If it happens to be like, say, near a national forest or a hiking trail that's popular or a park or something like that, you might end up with unwanted, individuals on your property that are just kind of following along. And if you've ever spent a lot of time in the woods, you can see a natural line of drift. It looks like a natural game trail. It just kind of flows in that direction.
Which I think is very important.
I like your thought process there. We have conservation land, not a national park or a state park, but conservation land up against. And that was one of our main points of actually picking this property, was because we've got 8,000 acres of forest.
Yeah.
That can't be built on, touched. You can't drive a car on it. You can't ride a horse on it. All you can do is really just enjoy it. Now, there's a road that runs through it way back in there, about 2 miles off from our property line. And that road you can go through and you can enjoy it. And it's a nice little place you can sit in there and stuff, and a couple of trailheads that run through there. But there was no trailheads that run towards our location, and probably because there's sort of a ravine that drops down about 800 feet and then back up again another 800 feet back up to where our property line would be. So it's massive. Kind of a natural barrier.
That would be nice.
So even though you can go in there and hunt in it, we never see people on it. Now, that doesn't mean we haven't. Like I said, I've had one person on my property. I had no idea who it was or where they came from. I told you guys about that.
Yeah.
And then I also had that one night where I could swear I saw somebody standing at the property line, which was right at that area.
Mm-hmm.
You'd really have to try hard to get through. Those are not easy woods. There's no trails. There's no designated anything. And you'd have to climb down all kinds of stuff down to a boggy area, get through that, then back up. It's pretty difficult.
Yeah.
Another point on that natural lines of drift, that's another indicator for me. I live on the edge of a larger city. And when the resources from the city get depleted, people will start to, come out my way looking for stuff, because they've depleted all the stuff. So the natural line of drift would be in my direction. So,
oh, it's clicking now. It's kind of like almost like a herd mentality.
It is.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it is.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like the zombie, The
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead, when people were leaving the city, well, that was a natural line of drift because they were either running from something or running to something.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah. When you get the chance, just kind of, when you're walking through your property, just kind of look at the ground, and you can kind of tell there's a natural flow to the way that the land lies, and that just your body kind of automatically starts to drift that direction. And that's why a lot of people, they have a hard time using a map and a compass, because you're looking at a compass and it's telling you need to go this way, but your body will naturally flow into the direction of a natural line of drift. And that's what ends up, messing up a lot of people when it comes to map and compass.
Path of least resistance.
Yeah.
Especially nighttime land nav. I mean, it'll kill you at nighttime land nav.
Yeah. Because, when you're maneuvering at night and your depth perception is gone, that's when you're really depending on the compass. But sometimes it just doesn't feel natural, because you're naturally trying to avoid getting stuck in 80-foot long briars. You're naturally trying to avoid those things.
Good stuff.
The last two parts really that have to do with, at least the military side, It does talk about avoiding the high ground when you're setting up a patrol base. And that has to do with when you're on the high ground and potential enemy or people, onlookers are in the lower ground, you create a silhouette of yourself while you're above them. It's a little bit easier to spot people. But as far as like a bug out location, what that really means is that if you're going to put like a dwelling there or something like that, you got to think about where you're going to put that thing so as not to draw attention from anybody who might be in the lower terrain. But the last one is terrain that's relatively near a location which the unit can move into for aerial resupply or medevac. So what does that mean to civilians and normal people? You have to have access to get out, to be able to, if you have to go to the hospital, or emergency services can get in to your location if need be. You still have to have access. But if you choose your bug out location in an extremely remote, area, you have to take that into consideration that if you call 911, they may not get to you in time. You have to really think about the routes on how to get out and get in. So those are considerations that you have to take.
Rhonda and I are actually in that type of situation. We're so far out that the nearest emergency care where like not like a hospital, but emergency care that's open, from morning till evening is 35 minutes away. And the nearest hospital is 50 minutes away. Mm-hmm. So I have a heart attack. It's either care, flight, or death.
Yeah.
It's really that simple.
Yeah.
Now I know that there are different levels of heart attacks. You can have a cardiac event and you can still drive yourself in some cases or be driven, to a hospital. The best place to have a heart attack is in a hospital, if you're going to survive.
Yeah. But
the closer you are to one, the better. You got to think about that, when you're looking for land. Now, I'm not saying we're the healthiest people in the world, because I'm definitely not, but I choose that option.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that option.
Yeah.
I'd rather live here than next to a hospital.
I had a cardiac event and I Googled it. I didn't go to the hospital. So, yeah.
There you go.
But one of the things that we didn't discuss is to be away from major lines of egress, and what that really translates to, or what we call high speed avenues of approach. And in the military sense, it's you're trying to set yourself into a place where the enemy can't easily get to you. But for civilians and just trying to find a good bug out location or your homestead or whatever it is that you're doing, you still want to have access to your location, but you're ideally wanting to find yourself offset from a major road. Like it's close, but it's hard to see. Like if you were just driving by and you didn't like really think to look, you may not actually see what it is that you're looking for. That's kind of how I translate that one.
All really good points, man. I like it. So this is you translating military tactics into civilian type tactics that would work for looking for a good property.
Yeah.
I just had this conversation yesterday with a guy who was military, and in the conversation, he's an instructor, I'm an instructor, and we were talking about, acronyms and kind of not really dumbing it down, but yet trying to get the military jargon out for, plain English for people. And the thing I was telling him was like, man, we have, when it comes to stuff like prepping and survival and stuff, we kind of have a leg up on people because of we have the training, and we have more than that, we have a mindset. They've taken us and trained us to think tactically. And that's what a lot of civilians don't know how to do it. We think it's common sense, and some of it is, but you have to have a tactical mindset in the prepper world. I feel that you have to start thinking tactically. Everything you do, everything. Okay, and it goes as far back as having 2 or 3 different purposes for that one thing in my bug out bag. Well, that's tactical because you have to carry it and stuff. So. You're starting that tactical mindset, and something I was taught a long time ago is you have to be able to think yourself out of a problem. I've learned this actually in the civilian world as a sales rep for a company. I was right out of college, I didn't know the product, and I was always asking questions. And they always sent me back to the book. I had a training book. Go look it up. And think yourself through this. Take a breath, think through the problem, and you can find a solution. So I'm hoping we're getting to people out there to maybe not know, a lot of this stuff that we take for granted, that we know that, we're helping them out a little bit to, maybe not give them all the answers, or because we don't have all the answers, but to think through the problem.
Yeah. And I am the civilian that doesn't have the, I do think tactically far more than, let's say, Rhonda would, but far less than, let's say, you guys would, because you were military and I was not. I only know from what I absorbed over the years and what I've practiced in real time, and, just sort of watched and learned and absorbed. And then I have my life lessons as well, like when we were looking for land. And, part of my, I'll give you my list in a quick, very, very quick type of session. And it is number one, and these aren't really in any kind of order, but number one was water access, drinking, agricultural, sanitation, feeding your animals, livestock, that kind of thing. Also water catchment, we talked about that. Security and seclusion, we also talked about that as well. Land for gardening. So you don't want really, really steep hills. You want sort of flat, or land that is sort of gradually, going up and down. For that, you also want to look for like drainage and climate. Growing seasons is also important. So if you're thinking about moving to a different place, like you can go out to West Texas, way out there, and you can get land for like dirt cheap. But that's where you're getting dirt. That's it. You're getting dirt and scrub brush.
Hey, there's a country song about that.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. But you're going to have a very hard time growing in a place like that. You got to think about those things. If you're going to go way up in the mountains, let's say Colorado, have you been there? Or have you just watched it on TV? Because I can tell you it's hard to grow stuff on the side of a cliff.
It is.
It's very difficult. And the growing season is a lot shorter too. And
it's hard as hell to breathe there.
It can be for a while. It affected us for a couple of days for sure. Then you want to look about energy. Is your place too crowded with trees? Do you have access to the sunlight? Those are important things as well, because you want to get solar, and things like that. Water access, obviously for your well, that we talked about that already. Another big one is natural resources like rock and timber. If you have a place and soil and dirt as well, clay is a good thing as well. If you have a lot of clay, you can build a pond. If you have a pond, you have water access now. So if you have timber, you have trees to cut down. No matter what trees they are, pine would be great. But it wouldn't matter what trees they are, you now have firewood and you have things to build with. You have that resource. Another big deal for us was also zoning. And we went the farthest extreme you could possibly imagine. We have zero zoning where we are. Nobody can tell us what to do at all. We pretty much do whatever we wanted to. The only reason why we had trouble with our septic in the beginning was because of getting the loan. And the loan people wanted to know, get it rebuilt because it was too old and in the wrong place. That was the only thing. But we have no zoning, no restrictions whatsoever. I like that. Some people don't. Some people like a little place that's got a little more restrictions. It's up to you. Defendability is also very important. I'll go into our property on another podcast, but and accessibility, which we just got done talking about with Jeremy. So those are some of the things that we had on our list.
Yeah, and I think that's probably universal. Being able to set up a property with family, it does have. I can imagine it does have its downs, but I think it would probably be more ups. Because I know that some of our adult kids have been waiting on us with this venture that we've been on, because they want to homestead with us. And we all.
And if you get that big barn, you're going to be able to have the whole family in there.
Oh, dude.
That might suck.
Yeah. No.
Dude, that building is, man, that is awesome.
Yes,
that thing is awesome.
And they're gonna.
What are they like? 30-foot ceilings in there?
It's taller than that.
It's crazy.
The whole thing is 6,000 square feet. It's 60 by 100. And if this does work out, and we're able to bring them on the property as well, No, they won't be living in my garage. They will be living in whatever it is that they build off to the side of my garage. Ain't nothing for free up here. But being able to do that with a family that has the same mindset, I think is, if you were able to do so, would be extremely advantageous. Because, this last property that we've been looking at, checking out the neighborhood, it's a mixed bag. But everybody looks like they kind of keep to themselves, but it's very rural, but also close, like it's one of those key locations. Like it's close enough where if you wanted to run to Walmart, it wouldn't be an issue, but it's offset enough to where if you're driving down the closest major road, you can't see it. So it's kind of like what we've been trying to achieve.
Hey, what would you rate it on your own criteria for what we're talking about today? What would you rate that property?
I'd say between a 7.5 and say like an 8.5.
Okay.
That's good. It's like a 95% solution. Maybe 90, because again, the house portion still has to be built out, but we have everything ready to go for that.
And you got adult children to help you build it.
Well, you see, that's the thing. The gentleman that's selling it already has the approved plans. He already has blueprints approved. All of the water or the septic has already been run. The water taps are already in existence. Everything's there. Just the builder's got to come in. And then he's like, oh, by the way, I have this estimate that was approved at the county. Do you want that too? And I was like, yeah, I definitely want that.
Well, it sounds to me like you're ready to get it like a construction loan.
We're trying several different avenues, but I did not realize that there's a lot of lending companies out there that as soon as you say it's a barn-dominium, one, they're like, oh yeah, we don't do that. And then there's other companies that are like, yeah, absolutely we do that, but we have to build it, like from the ground up, not just an existing building. Because the building exists and all of these, we're trying several different avenues of funding. And in my mind, it makes sense to me to secure the land and the building because I really don't want to let it go. Then as we are doing that, we fund the build and then take either the construction or the, normal housing loan, whatever you want to call it, and then refi that into a complete VA loan. And, that's kind of what we're trying to do. We just don't want to end up house poor, because it's still quite a bit of money, but the value for us is more than what the average lender is seeing. They won't see the end product. They only see what's directly in front of them. And also there's no real comps. So comps are, if I say, hey, I want to buy 123, Smith Street. And so they can oh, okay, cool. I can see 123 Smith Street. Here's the average amount of money that other houses that are comparable in size and value have sold for. That's pretty easy. This is a very unique property, and there's not many barn-dominiums that exist out there in this general area sitting on 10 plus acres of land. It's just, it's not a thing yet. They're extremely popular. And there's a lot of different companies out there that will fund them, even with VA options, but it has to be from the ground up.
You guys have touched on damn near all of this. And I think what people are going to find out, is we have a few multi-layered approaches to stuff, but yet we're going to hit on the commonalities of a lot of it. So my number one is strategic placement. You have to put it in a place that strategically is advantageous for defense. Your water sources, your resources, can you grow there? Like Keith said, are you able to forage if need be? Is it, like Jeremy said, is it hidden enough? Is it hidden in plain sight? Is it hidden far enough away from that natural line of drift or the high avenue approach? But that's something you need to think about, is that strategic placement. And what are you going to get? And bottom line, what are you going to get out of that location? Okay, 2 is accessibility. You got to be able to get there and get out of there. So a lot of that on if you do a proper area study, you're going to first off find all of these things out. That's just questions you're asking. Believe it or not, when you go out there and look for a bug out location or a home or whatever, you're doing an area study. for the most part. You can expand it out to get some other questions, and that's something, you can buy a book for, or hell, DM me. I'll run you through the process. But accessibility, you got to be able to get there and get back easily. And then water sources, I think that's the caveat to all of it. You got to have water sources and resources out there. You got to be able to garden, forage. Is there game on the property? Is there a pond? Is there fish in the creeks or in the lakes or whatever? So, those are common things to look for. Some honorable mentions there: security risk. And it goes back to defendability. What are your security risks? Security risk to be neighbors. And then the last thing is, and it's slept on by a lot of people, is community. You got to build a community around your place you're going to either bug out or you're going to homestead. You need to be able to rely on your neighbors when needed, and they can rely on you, and it pays off dividends for security and just survivability. So you got good neighbors and you guys will go to bat for each other and go to war for each other, then that's a game changer.
My Prepper brothers and sisters, strategic relocation isn't a retreat. It's a recalibration. It's about shifting from vulnerability to resilience, from dependency to self-reliance, from the noise of the crumbling world to the stillness of a place you finally can call your own. Finding the right homestead or bug out location isn't always easy. There'll be compromises and doubts, maybe even a little fear. You're not just looking for land, you're searching for freedom. And freedom, real freedom, is built one choice at a time. Be the architect of your freedom. Stay prepped, stay happy. Thanks for listening, and good night.
Built this thing from the ground up out of nothing. No flight plan, no manual to be bound. You and I, we're driving in the dark without headlights, trying to find our way. It's hard telling where we'll be in the coming days, but I'll be there with you. It's hard telling where we'll be in the coming days, but I'll be there with you. I'll be here with you. Built a wall around my heart to stop the bleeding. More than made of all the words that I should have said to you. And we're walking through the fire and the smoke clouds, trying to find our way. It's hard telling where we'll be in the coming days, but I'll be there with you. It's hard telling coming days, but I'll be there with you. I'll be here with you. It's hard telling where we'll be in the coming days, but